Urban Decay released 2 new limited edition Moondust palettes. Which one is the must-have? Hey y'all, it's Heather, and I'm so excited because I bought both of the new Urban Decay Moondust palettes. I have a quad, I have a full palette. We are gonna compare these. I wanna let you know which palette is best. First up, we have the Moondust Space Cowboy Quad. This is $39. It is available at Sephora and on the Urban Decay site. Next, we have the Moondust Space Cowboy Palette. This one is $49 and it's available at Ulta and Urban Decay. In this larger star-shaped palette, we do have 6 shades, whereas in the quad, we have 4 shades, of course. As a bonus, I also picked up the eyeliner. They launched their iconic shade Space Cowboy in their 24/7 Glide-On pencil, so we'll use this too. I haven't used it yet. I'm going to zoom you in, and I'm going to give you really up-close live swatches of these palettes, and then we will move into the tutorial. Y'all, I am so excited. We are going to be eye swatching and hand swatching our beautiful palettes. I did have a different eye look on earlier today, so I wiped that off. That's why I have like mascara on and liner on. I did my best to just like get all the shadow off, which I did. So we are gonna eye swatch, but first we're gonna hand swatch. This is the shade that I'm most excited for, that Urban Decay is like, oh, new shade. This is Space Cowboy Rides Again, and I'm gonna swatch that on my hand right here so that I can do the quad here, and then we'll do the 6-pan here. But do you see how it's this like glittery topper, but it's not a chunky glitter. It's not like the glitter that I was used to like when I was in middle school back in the early 2000s, like, and it's chunky and it kind of hurts when you take it off at night. No, like it is like a shadow that is just sparkle. Here is the shade A-List Energy. Really, really pretty, sparkly, more of a base to it than this shade up here. Here is the shade Sparkle Hour. This one is very sparkle heavy, just like the Space Cowboy Rides Again. Last but not least, I will put the shade Lunar Lit right here. So there are the 4 shades from our quad. Really, really pretty. And actually, let's go ahead and hand swatch this too before we move on to the eyes. So we do have 2 repeated shades in here. These 2 shades right here. The, what did I say they were? A-List Energy and Space Cowboy Rides Again. They are the same from palette to palette, but all of the shades in these palette, like you can only get them here. They're not repeated in the Urban Decay collection. So we will go in next with this shade. I'll put No Sleep Club right there. Look at how that hits the light. Look at how that hits the light. I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I do use that in the tutorials that we have coming up, so you will definitely see that in action. Let's go in next. What do we say? So we have these. Now we just have these. Like, we'll do this matte with sparkle. My bad, y'all. This is Endless Party, okay? Now this shade is No Sleep Club. Sorry, I like sometimes when I'm flipping the palettes and they don't have the name on the front, it gets like jumbled up. But look at how beautiful that is. This brown with the sparkle to it. I love a matte with sparkle. We'll swatch the last 2 matte shades right there. This one kind of a dusty rose. And then we've got that vanilla matte right there. Smooth that out a little bit. So there are our live hand swatches. So you can see all the colors. Right here, just the quad. This one over here, you would get these 4 shades, and then those top 2. So there is your 6-pan. I've got an eyeshadow primer down. I always use an eyeshadow primer. I think it's a super important step, whatever you like to use. So of course I'm gonna use it for my eye swatches. And we're gonna use these 2 shades down here first from our Moondust quad, because I wanna make sure that I use the 2 exclusive shades first, and that way you can see the other shades kind of grouped with the other palette as well. So I'm gonna pick up this gorgeous brown type of color, make sure there's no creases in my primer, and I'm going to just kind of apply this with my fingers so that you can see how it looks all on my lid. I do think these palettes make for really great one and done shadow looks, meaning you use one shadow all over the lid, mascara, and then you're done. Lunar Lit is described as a warm brown with silver glitter. Next, I'm going to swatch the shade Sparkle Hour with my finger. This is a pink shimmer with a silver glitter. Really beautiful, looks so good as a one and done. Now we're gonna go in with these top 2 shades. I'm gonna start with Space Cowboy Rides Again. I'll press this right here. This is really, really gorgeous. I think it's genius for Urban Decay to kind of like capitalize on the popularity of Space Cowboy. This shade is described as a light peach shimmer with the silver glitter. And you can definitely see that silver and the peach. It looks so gorgeous. And I actually want to try this as a face highlight. I mean, I'm going to get fallout and I'm going to get a little messy while I'm doing like this many eye swatches. But why not have a little fun? And that looks really like fun on the cheeks. It's intense. Is this something that you want to wear like all the time? Maybe. I don't know your life. Like, what do I know? I like it. I think it's fun. Maybe I wouldn't wear this every day because I like to switch my makeup up every day. But you know what? More is more. So if you want to wear this as a highlighter, like, look how fun that is. And the way it kind of like flows from my eye to my cheek like that, okay, I could be about it. I'm definitely into that. All right, let's do this. Last shade in our quad. Oh yeah. A-List Energy is a peachy pink shimmer with a magenta glitter. And I, of course, think this is stunning too. That's mainly what I would use this quad for, a companion palette with other mattes, but mainly I think it's pretty like this on its own with just a little bit of mascara. So stunning, stunning. Now, these two shades right here are also in our Star palette. I know I keep saying that, but I'm just like even keeping it clear in my mind. That's these two shades right here. So I'm going to take these two shades off because they're repetitive here, and then we will swatch our last 4 shades. Let's do this shade first. This is described as a cool brown shimmer with silver glitters. I'm just gonna lightly blend with a brush to smooth out our edges, but isn't that a really pretty shade? I like that a lot. I really like the shine, the intensity. I'm just bringing it up high so that you can really see the color of the shade, how it blends, things like that. I'm not gonna blend too much, but I want you to see like you can blend it. That's a pretty color. Let's put our matte with sparkle shade right here. This is a warm brown matte with the magenta glitter in it, and I think it's stunning. Both of these shades look really beautiful, easy to blend, easy to work with, and impactful. Let's swatch our 2 matte shades. Ignore if you see a little sparkle. This matte does not have sparkle, but I'm trying to clean off my lids and my fingers, so there might be just a little. This is VIP only. It's described as a muted rose pink matte. This is the shade Vibing. This is our light peach nude matte. Very light. For me, I would use this as an inner corner highlight, or I would use it as like a blending shade, but I think it's pretty. You can see there's no patchiness, no skipping, nothing like that. Just really pretty matte shades. Last year for holiday, Urban Decay had these 2 Moondust palettes. They were super popular. They sold out. I know so many people were trying to get their hands on these, and thankfully I bought them both. This was the Moondust Space Rider palette. So these palettes were different in that they're all those like Moondust formula shadows. So they are different from what we kind of see this year. The other one right here, this is Galactic Cowgirl. You can see we had some repeat shades in this one. Like we had Space Cowboy. It had more of their iconic shades, whereas this year there's all limited edition new shades. Even though they're repeating between the 2 new palettes, they're not repeating anywhere in Urban Decay's line. So I thought maybe I could show you a couple of these swatches just in case you were curious next to our new palettes. Here's our new shade Space Cowboy Rides Again from our 2024 palette. Here is Cosmic Cowgirl. I have this in one of my palettes from last year. There is Star Cowgirl. You can see they're different. And then I'll do Space Cowboy, the kind of iconic shade right there. If you're a makeup lover like me and you see all those little nuances, you can definitely see the differences here. But also, like, I'm not ever here to say like you need this. I'm just saying, like, for me, more is more, and I love it all, but I wanted to show you like just those comparisons. If you look at the mattes in the Star palette next to the original Naked palette, you'll see that there's no repeating shades. Let me make sure I'm not going to gouge my shadow. Definitely these are more pinky tones. We don't have this kind of peachy vanilla nude in here. This is overall neutral. If you're a neutral or cool person, it's a very cool tone palette for me and my skin tone, but I also wanted to show you next to Naked 3 because that's what I was really curious about, is if the mattes in Naked 3 were like, whoops, like the mattes in the Star palette. And they're really, really not. Let me act like I know what I'm doing. Hold on. So here you do have the mattes that line up a little bit more, still with that lightest matte shade. It's a lot more like middle of the road rather than how super light this is. This shade is way more like, I won't say way more, I was gonna say way more deep, but it's just deeper in tone, and it's a little bit more like saturated, and then we don't have anything like this shade here. And then of course the shimmers are totally all new formulas from this to the quad, so it's not really worth even comparing in my opinion. Also thought about my Get Stoned palette, which I absolutely love this packaging from Urban Decay. This one I don't believe is available anymore either, but none of the formulas in here are the same, none of the shades are in here are the same, but since this is one of their like sparkly palettes, I thought I would pull it. That's all I have for comparisons. I do want to quickly show you like how to do 2 looks from these eye swatches, and then we'll do 2 more fresh looks. So we're starting our look with our matte shades from the Star palette, and I'm going to use our Space Cowboy Rides Again shade, and I want to just tap this right on top of my matte over here. I'm not really like packing it on, I'm just going to kind of tap it on top of this matte like this, so that we have that kind of dispersed, diffused sparkle right on top of this matte. And then over here, I want to use this shade down here. This one is exclusive to the Quad palette, and I'm going to tap it on, same technique, but we're going to get a totally different look. I'm going to throw on a little bit of liner and kind of maybe recurl my lashes, see if I can freshen up my mascara at all. Here are 2 quick and easy looks you can do with these little palettes. I think they're so cute, fun, fresh, but I have more to show you. Jumping into the look, I do have an eyeshadow primer on, and we are going to create a full look with the Moondust palette. I like to create looks that have mattes and shimmers. I do some one and done sometimes where I'm just using like a Moondust or something like that all over the eyes, but for the most part, I do like to create looks that involve lots of different formulas, mattes, shimmers, metallics, whatever. So I am going to be creating a look using this. We're going to use the mattes too, and since our quad doesn't have any mattes, I am going to pull in my Urban Decay Naked palette. That way I can get kind of a cohesive look. I do have things to do today, so I want my look to be as cohesive as possible, even though I'm not using the exact same shades. I'm starting off with the shade VIP Only, this beautiful matte. I'm using a brush from my favorite set, and I'm going to start by pressing that shadow all into my socket. I say socket, not my crease, because I'm 37 years old. I have deep set eyes. I have several creases in my eyes, so I'm going to pop it right here into the socket. I'm going to let it come up above. I'm going to let it come down below. I'm just focusing on pressing right now. Once that shadow is pressed off my brush, I'm going to go in and I'm going to lightly blend back and forth, not using a lot of pressure. I am using a very light eyeshadow base, but you can still see on me, like this is a light shade. It's not going to show up a ton, so just keep that in mind depending on your skin tone. I'm going to take that same shade and work that underneath my lower lash line, kind of buffing it back and forth like that, just very gently, just getting a little bit of that color there. Now I could totally use mattes from this palette over here on this eye and then just use the quad in place of the shimmers, but I want to use a different palette. I want to pull in mattes from my Urban Decay Naked, the original. I will link my video using this palette up in the cards for you because I did do a full video on it, and I'm thinking if you buy this quad, maybe you will pair it with something else in your collection rather than buying the 6-pan palette. So I want to pull in mattes from my Naked palette instead, and I'm just going to kind of put that in the same placement as I did over here on this eye. I'm mixing the shades Naked and Buck. Let's go in with No Sleep Club. That's a really cute name. I'm gonna pick that up on my brush. Once again, I'm gonna press the matte shadow on, pressing it right here at my lid, bringing it up and out a bit like this. And then I'm going to slowly kind of start to bring it in and shade this area in, blending. So once I have it pressed off my brush, I'll just kind of back and forth blend. This is the deepest shade between both of the new palettes. Like, this is as dark as it goes, which is fine. Like, I think this is beautiful. I do really like when palettes offer deep dark shades, but I also understand that when we have a 6 pan, a 4 pan, it's not like when you have a 9 or larger palette, you know? So I really appreciate that we have this deep shade. And by packing it on first and then blending, I'm going to ensure that I get it as deep as I can. If I want, I could also go on with a deeper base underneath. Like, I could put down a little bit of liner, something like that. But I'm happy with how this is. I really like a matte shade that has a little bit of sparkle to it. So I'm into this. I'm also going to take this shadow on my lower lash line. I'm not going to bring it down quite as low as I did that first matte shade though. And I'm going to connect it right out here in the outer corner. For this side over here, I'm going to mix a little bit of Hustle and Creep. I'm going to jump over to the shade right here called Vibing. Got just a little on my brush, and I'm going to use very light hand, light pressure, barely touching my face, and I'm gonna buff this out. I'm just gonna use this to kind of blend and buff, make sure everything is blended how I would like it. I don't want to blend away. I want to keep the depth. I want to keep that little bit of drama, but I don't want like a harsh line. For my other eye, I'm going to use my same palette in the shade Virgin. Now we're getting into the shimmers, and I'm excited. So we know we have 2 repeat shimmers in these palettes. We have the shade right here, we have the shade right here, but the different shades are this one, this one right here, and then these two. Yeah, these two. So I want to make sure that I incorporate the shades that are different between each palette so that you can really see those. And then we'll use the shades that are the same as needed. But I want to focus more on the differences, since I know maybe not everybody is like crazed for makeup like me and wants to buy both. Let's use Endless Party. I'm just going to put that right on the center of my lid. I want to show you how this applies with my finger. I do prefer a brush, but I know a lot of y'all really like to apply things with your fingers, so I'm going to keep this to the center of my lid. I'm not covering up that dark brown matte you can see. I'm just keeping this right on the center. I'm going to smooth it out a little bit. Over on this side in our quad, we're going to use Lunar Lit. Same placement. I'm just using my finger to pop this right on the center of my lid. So these 2 shades are unique to their palettes. They don't cross over between the 2. My personal preference looking at these, which shade would I get more use out of as far as the center lid shade, is this one right here. I think it's a little more intense, a little more special. I like the tone of it. I think it works for me. But this Lunar Lit is beautiful too. If I weren't comparing it to the other, I would be oohing and awing over it. But I do like this shade. Smooth that out a little bit. I do like that shade a little bit more. The shade A-List Energy repeats between both palettes. So I'm actually going to take my brush and I'm going to use this one, because all of the shades that are exclusive to that palette we've used so far. So I'm just going to put that on with my brush, and I'm going to use it on the inner part of my lid right here. It's not going in a large area, so it's not going to stand out a ton, but as I move and go about my day, you're going to see it on this small part of my lid, and it's going to be something just a little special, and it's going to give me a little bit more light right in here so that we go from light to dark with our kind of transition across our lid. I'm even going to take this shade up above my socket right in here and just kind of dust and make sure I have a good little blend, but also that when I turn to the side, you're getting that shadow right here. Jumping over to our quad, we're gonna go in with Sparkle Hour. This is exclusive to this little quad. So I'm gonna pick it up on my brush and we're gonna put it in the exact same place that we put the shadow on the other eye. Same technique, everything. Both palettes have the shade Space Cowboy Rides Again. So that's what we're gonna use to highlight our inner corner for both eyes. So I'm gonna pick up this beautiful, beautiful shade and I'm gonna pop that on the inner corner. So we're gonna have Space Cowboy Rides Again. Do you see how pretty it is? That's intensity, right? That is intensity, and I like it. I really like it. I think that's gorgeous. Over here as well. I really just wanted to use every shade from the palettes so that you can kind of see on the eyes how they perform, the possibilities. And I'm feeling both of these looks. I mean, you can see like the style of the looks is similar. They're not the same, but I did try to keep the shape and the placement, that type of thing, similar-ish. Before we move on, let's swatch our eyeliner. This is waterproof, long-lasting, 24/7 glide-on eye pencil in the iconic shade Space Cowboy. Okay, was that like a good dramatic reading of the packaging? Yeah. Let me swatch it on my hand first. Oh, she's a light, light, light. So this is going to be great for me for my inner corner, not inner corner, for my lower waterline, because it's gonna give me a little bit of brightness, a little bit of like, ooh, what is that? It's not brown, it's not black, it's not red, because she has allergies and she sneezes a lot. It's gonna be beautiful. And I'm really liking that. I know I already like this formula of eyeliner, so to pick up another color, I really did not hesitate. So I'm going to put a little liner on my top lash line. I'm going to throw on some mascara and be back to show you the finished look. And I'm going to kind of collect my thoughts and let you know what palette wins for me, because this is a competition. These palettes, they're not here to make friends, they're here to win, okay? They're not here for friendship, they're here to win. All right, y'all, here are my two finished looks. They are very cohesive, definitely different. Like if you look at them, you'll notice like they're not the same, but I feel like with the color placement, everything, they're very cohesive. So I'm excited to wear these for the rest of my day. I really like the Urban Decay Moondust formula, so I am feeling both of these looks. I love the one that we created just with the palette. I love the one that we created with the quad in my original Naked palette. I am into it. Now that you've seen all four looks, you've seen the eye swatches, I feel like I should declare a winner. I don't regret my purchase, okay? Like, I'm so happy to add these to my little Moondust palette holiday collection. I love that Urban Decay does this. I love that they're having fun with the Moondust. I would love to see more. Like, give me more Urban Decay. I will buy it. All right, I like the liner. I think it's cute. I think it looks great in the waterline. I think it lasts. I'm happy with both of these palettes. I really am. Now, if you are going for like one and done looks, of course you can use the shadows in this quad. You can create more with it, all shimmer looks. This palette to me gives the most like options for a complete look, if that is what you were going for. If you want a palette, you can do a full look. You can do like looks with mattes and shimmers. Of course, this is going to be the pick. Go with this one. The quality of all the shadows is beautiful. I didn't have an issue with anything. I think it's really great. I don't like this packaging just because, like, I don't know, there's something that I just don't love about it being shaped like a star. Everything else about it I love. Like, I love that it's raised. I love that it has that holographic element. I just don't love that it's shaped like a star. I'm not into that. My personal favorite is the quad. This one is beautiful, and it's what I want when I'm thinking about Moondust. I want to reach just for the Moondust shadows, and I do feel like you have this shade in here, which you don't have in the 6-pan, and this adds value to me. This palette is less expensive. It's $10 less expensive. You're getting 2 less shades though, but when I'm thinking about Moondust, this is what I want. I want a palette of sparkles, and I think it it was great that they expanded on this. They threw some mattes in so that if you want like to take this traveling, you want to have some mattes and some sparkle, you can do that. It is pretty light, so I don't know that it's going to like be everyone's favorite, but I mean, for me, I'm happy with both. If one of these disappeared from my collection, I would repurchase because I want to have it. Like, I want to have it, I will use it, but if I could only choose one, I would pick this one right here. And I hope that this video was helpful to you. Maybe you're considering these. Let me know, like, did you already buy these? Did you buy the ones from last year? Do you love Urban Decay? Are you skipping? I have so many videos about shadows here on my channel, like so many videos. Stick around, talk makeup with me. Tell me, what are you excited about for holiday? Like, we're only in the beginning of October, so I cannot wait to see what's going to be coming soon.